Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
Today's episode is sponsored by Harrys.com. This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B. And joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Stephen Four. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I hope after this past weekend you kept it icy as us.
Oh, my God. I don't think it's possible to have kept it more icy than Juice and myself while getting iced by Mike Haspel in our hotel room 15 minutes after landing.
Chew, man, I'm talking about the epitome of coming in hot. We just walked into the suite. We just sat down, kicked the shoes off, you know, like, what's a lot going on. Haspel walks in, oh, I'm coming down, walks right in the door, boom, iced. Wow. Coming in hot with a sour apple green Jolly Rancher flavor, which was disgusting.
Yo, that's what I used to put in my Zimas.
I'm about to say, I know Rob actually would have liked it, but it was bad. The only saving grace was that he actually had them chilled. He didn't do a dick move like how me and Juice do.
Yep.
Where we microwave the Smirnoff Ice for like 3 minutes before we give to each other.
Absolutely. Like put them in the oven, in the car for a week, shaking them up. And or what's even worse than that is we didn't even talk about yet is super almost frozen. You know, like Haspel was super polite. I would think he maybe bought them, you know, at the gas station 3 hours before and left them out. Like they were perfect to try to do it. He was thinking about us, Kenny. Like he could have got us even worse. So, but man, we could talk about Adepticon, and we are for at least an hour because what a great busy ass weekend. You know, I know we'll say it, massive shout-outs. We've got shout-outs upon congratulating individuals and whatnot. Kenny and Rob, myself, and Haspel all ran the doubles event that went shy of a hiccup in the beginning just with maybe software and tailpair. Like it was literally went off without a hitch. Everybody spoke highly of it that we can tell. If you played in it and you kind of had any kind of feedback, please shoot us a message. Let us know what you thought. We did some 10 or 12 interviews Friday evening, right after the singles event. Robbie B proceeded to get chocolate twisted.
I needed that.
Yo, let me tell you, it takes a lot. Matter of fact, Robbie B, I'm going to take you back. I don't think I've seen you that chocolate wasted since the first year that I actually met you at ATC when you had all the Long Island iced teas.
I may have still had all the Long Island iced teas.
Oh, my God, I forgot about that. That was when we were at the social gathering that Shane had put together.
Yeah.
Yep. They had Long Islands for like $2.
It was a mix. It was
$2
Long Islands, but it was like disgusting pre-made Long Island iced tea that you just all syrup.
I need 14. And she's like, what? And I was like, just bring me 14.
It's basically like you could have had just as much of a sugar high as being drunk. But needless to say, if you drink 14 of anything.
Let me tell you this, too. As we're trying to get him back to the hotel room so we can actually play the next day. He's cashing out, gets his little receipt, and I'm like, let's go, Rob. Let's go. He's like, no, I don't want to go. You know that whole routine with your twisted friend. And I'm watching him like fill out the tip and then sign it. I mean, the most ineligible, like the most
hieroglyphics,
unreadable like symbols, like.
Got to call the husband and wife combo from the Mummies in to read. The Mummy's Return, and potentially call The Rock, the Scorpion King, to find out what this text says.
I knew exactly what I was saying.
Yo, I know what you're saying, like 4 hours. So another funny story about Robbie B. This man, you know, Robbie B doesn't eat very much, and what he does eat, he has to eat kind of healthy. So this man, as we're doing interviews, is he's eating his dinner finally because I will say this, guys, like we had a blast. We met up with so many veterans. We met up with Sal, Evan, Kenny, and Nick. I mean, just bunch of people, and we're just getting, you know, cheersing people, hanging out, kicking it all weekend. Well, as we're doing these interviews, Robbie B is so wasted. He eats his salad finally, sits down. When I mean sits down, he sprawls out throughout the floor, takes up basically the entire floor space in his little area. 3 hours later, he is passed out, wakes up, and wants to know where the salad is.
I was still hungry.
You were hungry for something that you left spread out all over the floor. Thank you, Sal, for and Kenny for help picking it up. Either way, we got stories for days. It was a blast. You just tell me when to shut up because I can keep talking about it.
That doesn't sound like anything I do. No. I think we got a really good show for everybody tonight. We've got 2 big interviews. We got Chris Mstead, basically the 40k coordinator for Adepticon, the guy that's basically responsible, has a hand in the Horse Heresy stuff, but more importantly, coordinates all the 40k team tournament, the championships, had a hand in helping us with the doubles event. So he's going to get on here and talk about the event, how it's grown, some background, some stories, the good old days versus now. And then we're also going to speak with Aaron Along, who won the 40k championships, and of course there's a bit of controversy about that. So that's a very good listen. I think it's going to be a good interview. So we got a really good webcast recap for tonight because there were so many folks in there. We all this stuff popping off with the new Space Marine stuff, the new Chaos stuff, the new releases at Adepticon. Everybody wants to know what's going on, and we're here to hit you with that. So what do you got for us on the webcast recap from earlier tonight?
Okay, so our boy Mike Haspel, obviously, he's not here, but he did text me the intel from the webcast. So one of the first questions we have is, how did the Chaos Armies do? And it goes on, Kenny, are you happy about the Chaos Love? Juice, what are you hoping for to drop next? And Rob, will the new formations for Chaos be any good? So obviously, let's answer them with how the Chaos Armies did. How well did we do? What would we place?
That was Jag Bandy put posed those questions for us, and Rob, if you'll let everybody know how we did that doesn't already.
We got the best heretical team tournament award at the 4-man team side of things.
And so to elaborate just a little bit, guys, would you agree that maybe we succeeded in exactly what we wanted to by bringing these lists?
I would have to say that we did. I think we said that we were going for best sport or best heretical, and obviously our sportsmanship scores were perfect, but we didn't get enough battle points to pull that down. But we did place 40th, and I want to illustrate. Last year we only got like 46th as a team, and we were playing some hard space overlords that we were trying to win the tournament with. So we actually did improved our performance while bringing Hobby back and winning best heretical team while repping these amazing Chaos Armies by Manbeard Painting that are currently for sale that we'll be leaking some pictures on here soon on the Hobby Bits, the Spikey Bits hobby page and Spikey Bits itself.
Yeah, I am so pleased with the weekend now. We have a lot to talk about with the lists, a lot of comments to be made. I think Haspel was quoted as saying it's like playing the game on hard mode. It's like playing the game on fucking expert times 10.
Yeah, it's hardcore mode and
it's definitely hardcore.
Yeah, you die once, you lose the game. Like that's
it's like I'm gonna go here with you guys. It's like playing 007 in Nintendo 64.
Oh my god!
All your opponents have the golden gun, and you have the PP7.
Yep, you can't do it.
It is almost impossible. So, but we were able to bang it down, get some points where we could, whatnot, and had a great time. Had 5 great opponents. I couldn't imagine having 5 better.
Just there was like 120 teams, and 80 of them did worse than us.
120 teams. That is something to put in perspective. There's 180. How many teams?
120 4-man teams.
That's unbelievable. And I would say more than a third of them were straight Eldar across the board. It was Eldar upon Eldar upon Eldar for days.
No doubt. So, we brought Hobby back. We played as competitively as we could. We made as many, logical decisions as we could. And I think we both had agreed that the Helldrakes were the MPVs, which
easily.
Which we'll go into, finishing out Jack Benny's questions, because he does ask us a few more questions. Multi-part question. He asks if we're happy with the love for Chaos. I would say, across the board, Chaos love is spreading, and even GW is dropping new Chaos Love right now. So yes, I'm incredibly happy with that. But Juice, what are you hoping to drop next?
So there's a lot of things. So on the Chaos side, what I'm hoping for is their independent characters need overhauls, bro. Okay, like ultimately that's what I think about when I think Chaos. It's kind of the same mindset of Ultramarines and Space Wolves. They're supposed to have these characters. That's what they're known for, in my opinion. And when we break down the gods, as we all did this weekend, Lucius the Eternal sucks balls. He is worse than ball. He is the ball liquor.
You are the one.
Yes, 165 points of ball terribleness. To be honest.
So that's your number one pick. Lucius the Eternal, AP2, +1 initiative, +1 strength, and 20 points less?
Yeah, and at least 20 points less. Also, give the squad, he's supposed to be Eternal, give him and his unit a 6-up, feel no pain, something. I mean, I feel like he's Lucius the I'll die if you look at me. He killed nothing. Absolutely nothing. 0 body count.
0 Space Marines killed. 0 Eldar jet bikes killed. And he died 100% of the time.
100%. And I'm talking about he didn't even die epically. Like, he died to drop pod storm bolters. 5 of them. When he comes in. Like, and the cultists don't even say, ultimately, I'm not going to go on too much of a tirade, but, like, get good. Fix your independent characters. Fix Lucius the Eternal. Fix Karn, obviously Typhus is a G, but even fix Airmon. Like, he's really good and he did great because he's got psychic presence, but like, let's make him a little cheaper. Let's make him as good, as a Tigurius.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that he's like super badass psyker, 10,000 years old, and not even that good. And conversely,
and what's cool, but he was one of the best elements of our list.
Yes.
Karn pretty much did nothing for me, unfortunately. Like,
even though he's an offensive monster, you always have to remember that your opponents know not to get charged by him. I mean, he was doing wounds, he was doing the Lord's work, the Lord of Skulls, that is, where he could, but ultimately he's people rolling 3 abominables against him. He didn't do shit.
In that regard, he was an issue. Although his squad did take down a knight. Acheron in close combat with chain fists. Yeah, but I feel like that was
he had core mutilators, right?
Yep, but I feel like that was more the mutilators than Karn himself.
Karn let him reroll their miss-hits on the charge.
Well, that does help. The hatred's
that's a huge multiplier. So Karn did something at least. Lucius didn't do shit.
Nothing.
But I'll tell you, Typhus was a beast. He was definitely MVP of our forecast characters. He got to roll on the boon table like 3 times a game. He probably converted on like 3 kill points a game with his obliterators getting into combat. So obviously Nurgle has got the strength in the Chaos Codex. But before we, because this will play into the final question here, Rob, do you think the new Chaos formations are any good or will be any good?
I think there's certain things about them that are decent. Like there's a way to take Fearless, either Terminators or Chosen. I think that's kind of neat. There's a really neat power that lets you shoot the enemy squads as long as they're not a vehicle. That's actually worded very well, so there shouldn't be any ambiguity about it. But overall, do I think we're going to see him? Do I think Aaron Alon's going to play with them next year? No, probably not. I think they're cool if you got the models, but as far as I feel like the Orcs got a better supplement than these guys did.
That's saying something because their supplement sucks.
Yeah. So as far as Black Legion goes, from what we've seen, clown shoes.
Unfortunate. So this is the final part of that question by Jack Bandy. What was the best, funnest game, best moment for us? So obviously there's 3 of us. Juice, what was your best? How could you answer that question?
I wouldn't try to single out any one of the 5 games as being more than I was able to play against Sean Naden round 1, and Sam, I forget her name. She was playing Tigurius with 2 squads of Thunderfires. It was amazing. I was like, oh, I'm very familiar with that combo because I use it in my Astro Militarum list. I love second round opponents, played against some amazing looking Tau. I will say though, Haspel brought it up in the webcast earlier. My favorite game was round 5. We had great opponents, and literally Haspel's model, shy of his Helldrake, died on turn 2. By turn 2. I only have left a Land Raider and 3 Tzeentch Terminators, or excuse me, Slaanesh Terminators, and my Helldrake. And then, so at this point in time, Haspel's runs to the bathroom, gets a soda, this and this. So literally I have 5 models. And for the next 4 turns, I pull and muster every ounce of 40k-ness that I have. Haspel sat there and watched and has talked about it since. Some of the best 40k moves I've done, this and this, had some things happen, and pulled down 3 points. Let me tell you, it doesn't sound like much. Okay, it doesn't sound like much. Those 3 points were so amazing to me at this point. I felt like I ruled the world. I mean,
and you did.
Yeah,
you did. So, you redefined the parameter of victory, and you attained victory.
Yeah, I was just as happy with that 3 points that we got. The opponent got 27 is literally almost a tabling, but I made plays, I put myself, and at the end of the day, like I said, as long as I can put myself in the position to do that, that's what makes me happy. I don't need to table people, so that would be me.
Rob, what was yours?
I just really enjoyed hanging out and meeting all the new folks, talking with the veterans, drinking with a lot of folks, and that was like every game for me.
Well, and also for the audience, our power combos, because you get basically 3 out of 5 games, you get to get your favorite combos together, and so it was Rob and I Rob and I and Juice and Haspel were like the way our armies were sort of designed. So a lot of my favorite moments are in my games with Rob. And that's why Haspel and Juice have kind of the same moments. But I will agree with you, Rob. We met a lot of people.
Yeah,
we met a lot of people. Go ahead, Rob.
No, I'm just saying it's good. I really enjoy meeting folks and putting names with faces, or faces with names, whichever, and just kind of hanging out. I mean, the game was kind of secondary, to be quite honest. As
it should be.
Yeah, it was. And I can't say enough positiveness about Adepticon. Fucking go. Yeah. Go for a day. Go for 6 hours if you can make it, if you're within driving distance. If Sal came and kicked it with us on in between works and stuff like that, and had an absolute blast. He didn't play games, just chill, kicked it, saw Evan throughout, just a bunch of fans of the show get stopped in the hallway, go to Adepticon. It is the full experience. I can't stress that enough.
Yes, I feel like by this point, if you don't know, now you know. And I do want to answer Jay Benny's question with 2 instances that I will never forget. Obviously, I was running Typhus and 3 Nurgle Obliterators in my Land Raider. And we were all running something similar in our Land Raider, something like flavorful for the god, where Rob had the Mutilators and Juice and Haspel had Mark Terminators with the Combi Plasmas and Chafis and all the goodies. I get out of this Land Raider because these a Black Knight Ravenwing command squad decked out, all the plasma talons, everything, fails this charge with all the Corvius hammers on my Land Raider. They're playing a Tau Storm Surge and Ravenwing, so this is already tough. Get out of the Land Raider, get Typhus and his 3 Obliterators right there. Throw all our Flamers in there, kill nothing, and I'm about to take like 6 because there's also a character in there. I'm about to take 12 Plasma Overwatch, Grim Resolve hitting on 5s twin linked to the face, and because I was trying to get those Flamers all twin linked in, that's like you could lose 2 Obliterators to this Overwatch. I was like, man, I can't lose those 2 Obliterators. Oh yeah, Dirgecaster, you don't get the Overwatch.
Oh.
So I was like, the first time ever. There's Dirgecaster. He didn't get the Overwatch. Typhus went in there. They literally killed everything. Consolidated. Boon rolls left and right. Come in clutch. He beats the Chaplain in a challenge, finishes out the command squad, aces a unit of 5 scouts, and then they finally get him. Yes. So that was one of my favorites. But I would say the ultimate experience, and that was a me and Rob game. But the ultimate moment was playing our final opponents. running dual Iron Hands command squads, one with the Clan Racken, Gorgon Chain, like, 3 up and 4 up, Pain on the whole command squad, all Storm Shields, all Power Fist. This is like this is a Death Star that like nothing in the Chaos Codex can fight. Except for Typhus and his 3 Obliterators stepped up to the plate, got out of that Land Raider, got into that combat. Also, he had two. Also, I forgot the 2 Tech Marines that were in there too with servo arms. So we get into and they had the banner for +1 attacks. We get into this combat, and I'm like, oh, challenge. He's like, Tech Marine, okay. So he ends up doing something like 12 Power Fist wounds to my unit at his initiative. All right, and I got 3 Obliterators with 5 up invulnerables and Typhus. So like basically like clears out the Obliterators. You know what I mean? Clears them out.
Pretty handily.
Yes, and then Typhus is like left with like 8 5 up invulnerables. He finishes his challenge, kills out that tech. He activated force, killed that Tech Marine, and and put a wound because of the spill out rule. Put a wound out on the Gorgon Chain guy because they don't get feel no pain. So he kills the Tech Marine, puts a wound on the Gorgon Chain. He's like, all right, well, you got the rest of these 8 wounds are on Typhus. I was like, I'm bleeding, not sweating, homie. And proceed to beast mode out those 8 5 up multiples preceded by feel no pain rolls. Only take 2 wounds on Typhus.
Wow.
And Typhus holds the line. Get into another challenge. Tech Marine, this time the Gorgon Chain gets in there. Force is activated. He can only fail 2 of these, even though he's a 4/1 character, because he loses Eternal Warrior. Kills the Gorgon Chain. Kills another guy because of the spill out rule. They all swing back at the same initiative. Typhus, like right out the gate, the Gorgon Chain guy like whiffs, does 2 wounds. Typhus just sticks 2 5-ups. The rest of the command squad with all their Power Fists swing at me because they all hit on 4s. Whiffs, does total 4 more wounds. Roll them all out to my last wound. Hold the line. Karn and the Mutilators get into the combat. Crash in. Clean up on one side. Typhus finishes up the other side and finally dies to the last Tech Marine. Literally.
Get good. Chaos. Play Chaos if you can make 5 up inbones.
Chaos for life. You just got to believe.
Got to have the faith.
And so you can see our opponents were great guys. We're drinking tequila all the game.
Oh my
gosh. They were just like, how does this happen? We crushed more than half a fifth of tequila with these guys.
Yeah, and then you guys are getting twisted on Sunday.
The folks that walked up, they're more in the X-Wing, but I think one of them watches our stuff, and they were like, yo, we got this cooler full of beers and some fireballs. We can't take it with us. Here you go.
Yeah, they left us a cooler full of beers that also got crushed.
Shit, yeah. Speaking of, I know we have the rest of the show to get to, but I would like to talk the Sunday morning first round opponent. I wanted to shout out those 2 guys. It was Necrons and Blood Angels. And guess what was in his Blood Angel list? 4 Dreadnoughts and drop pods.
Oh, yeah.
You big dick bandit. You amazing animal. I love playing against him. Dude, those Dreadnoughts put in so much work. No answers. They were doing so much work because they were able to isolate and do some things against Terminators. But I was like, yo, I love seeing Dreadnought drop pods. He had a Furioso Death Company and a Librarian. Matter of fact, 2 Furiosos with frag cannons, the Death Company and a Librarian. It was really cool concept. Love it. And I know we did it during the Webcast. I would like to go ahead and shout out Evan Valdyke for winning the Zone Mortalis event, best overall badassness, with 4 Blood Angels Dreadnoughts. So you heard it here. If you haven't already, play 4 Dreadnoughts, you will win.
Every time, 100% of the time.
100%. Evan proved it.
Yep, and those guys that Raffles stomped you with their Dreadnoughts.
That's right. Literally, Raffles, they 30-0'd us. 4 Dreadnought drop pods.
Yes, sir. So also, I got the last question from the Webcast recap from Famous Amos asking about the new Chaos Supplement Black Legion stuff. Is there any word on Crimson Slaughter getting an update, and what are our thoughts overall on the changes?
Crimson Slaughter is getting an update. It's unclear what it's going to be at this time. It does say, I think it said something about, what was it? New, hold on, I'm pulling it up here. Contains new warlord traits, alter war missions, relics of the Crimson Slaughter, and a whole host of formations that with which to command your own twisted army of the Crimson Slaughter. So I guess it's going to have new stuff, but question mark?
So, and also to answer the second part of that question, thoughts on the changes, I think we just covered them worse than the Orc supplement update.
Yeah.
GW, hire us already. We can fix this.
True story. Got lots to say.
But that's it for the webcast recap, and obviously we still have a big show, and we do have a tabletop marketplace.
Yeah, we'll just blow through this real quick. Obviously, a lot of people have already seen this, but let's just run down the list real quick. So the Imperial Space Marine 2016, that is the collector's edition that will only be available on the 16th and 17th. Most game stores are going to get 5 of them. The GW stores will have more, but the online store will have it for sale, supposedly. Not sure what quantity. You can get a free one for 100. If you spend $165, you get a free one on the day. Some sort of discount there. I can't do math. I'm from the South and I don't do math well, but it seems like a discount to me. So check that one out. It is normally retailing for $35 US. Then now this is kind of an interesting thing. So what they've been doing is this trend of kind of repackaging merchandise, and we've all seen it, with the Battle Forces, the collecting sets. So now they have 2 new Space Marine box sets. They have the Company Command and the Terminator Command. And the Company Command comes with the Commander from the Solak expansion, and it's only $10 more than it used to be. So it's $50 US Company Command Squad plus that Captain Solak. And then for the Terminator Command, those are the shooting ones. It comes with the Company Commander or the Terminator Captain that came with the Terminus Ultra box set, the one that was going for like $80 to $100 on eBay. They don't go for that anymore. But again, $60 US, so it's only $10 more than it used to be, which I feel like is a deal. I mean, people are like, yo, it's not new, but I mean, I feel like it's cool because there's a savings, right?
Yeah, savings are always good.
And then for Chaos, there's the Cultist Assault box for $40 or $48 US, which is 20 cultists, which used to be, I think you got 5 for like $15. So right there, that's $60. And then you get that Aspiring Champion model from Dark Vengeance. Again, used to be $30. So I feel like $48 is a good value. And then the Terminator Lord Cadre, which is the Chaos Terminators and the Chaos Lord for $50 or $60, which again, $10 increase for a $25 multi-part kit seems pretty decent to me. And going forward, I think that's a good value for people starting out, definitely. And it gives them a way to sell clan packs, but also sell stuff that might not be as desirable, like the Company Command Squad or Terminator squads these days. Because let's face it, you don't really see them on the tabletop that much. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Dreadnought status.
That's true. Before we go into our interviews for the evening and everything like that, I did want to touch on our new sponsor, Harrys.com. I had an opportunity to use some of their products this weekend for the first time. The Truman kit at Adepticon, Juice brought it in, got to use the new shaving cream. And I would say, being known for my epic sideburns, by this point, let's just admit that they exist. And try to keep those lines fresh and tight. Like I did experience a miracle of facial hydration during Adepticon all weekend, keeping my sideburns fresh all weekend. But these guys at Harrys.com, maybe you guys didn't realize this, but these guys started this company because of how inconvenient it is to go to a convenience store and get good shaving equipment for a good price. These guys even went to Germany, opened up a factory that was over 100 years old, who already made stuff that was amazing, and transferred that like 100 years tradition of quality over to their current product. And like I said, we got an opportunity to check out the Truman's kit that they sent to us in the mail. And if you're listening to this right now, you can use a promotion code on their website, The Long War, and you can get, for $10 of free shipping, which is normally $15 plus shipping, you can get the same kit that we used all weekend at Adepticon. And I know Juice, he also knows, he's known for his fresh lines. Like, how did you feel about that?
Yo, absolutely. I loved it. So I use a lot of other stuff. I've tried so many different things from the cheap to the expensive, and to be honest, I haven't used a better razor than what you can get at Harrys.com. It is amazing. With the full kit is the way to go. Okay, let's just put it out there. What you can get all in that box delivered to your door, I don't see how it get any better. The freshest smelling, and I don't know about you, Kenny, but I notice we're around at Adepticon and stuff like that. There's, a lot of sweatness going on. I have to admit, I applied deodorant multiple times throughout the day. From the time I woke up to the time I slept, that the aroma, the smell, of their shaving cream and everything else lasted all day. Like, it smelled fresh, smelled just like I left the barbershop.
Yeah, that's it was definitely, and also like for me, I have dry skin on my face because you shave your face every day. That's what happens. It kept my face like hydrated. Real talk, best product I've ever used. Don't forget to use the promotion code The Long War at Harrys.com to get your $15 value for $10 with free shipping. Anyway, let's talk about some interviews coming up here from Chris from Aaron Airlong. We'll take a quick commercial break and we'll hit up our interviews.
Dear veterans, quickly make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at dicehead.com have rewarded us all with an extra 6% discount on all dicehead.com merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy. Veterans, have you been by thelongwar.net lately? New spoils are piling up. Sign up at thelongwar.net and claim your code to unlock valuable discounts at your favorite wargaming stores. Our friends at kingshobbiesandgames.com have added to that horde. An additional 5% off their already low prices. Sign up for free. thelongwar.net. Dear veterans, quickly make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
So today we're going to talk to Chris Mstead, the 40k coordinator for Adepticon, about basically the event, if it's growing, if it's shrinking, what's going on, what's hot, what's fresh, and just kind of talk about everything that was happening this weekend. So Chris, are you there?
Yeah, it's great to be here, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for giving us some time after such a busy week, months leading up to and everything that is Adepticon.
Yeah, it was a heck of a weekend, but I've had a couple of days to recover, so in a better place.
I can't even imagine the amount of work it takes to put on a show like that because, we ran our Long War Doubles event with you guys this year. We only had 100 people, and that's relative, obviously, for a lot of people, but that was like watching 400 people get managed in the big team event. I was like, wow, man, I can't even imagine. So, yeah, you guys are beasts.
Yeah, you've got to multiply me by several hundred other people, though. What makes the 400 people manageable is the thousands of volunteer hours that happen before we get there, right? I mean, the guys that are making the terrain and making sure the hotel's got everything together and making sure there's going to be prizes, making sure those Superfly medallions are done.
Oh, man, love those medallions.
Chris, I'd like to talk about, some people don't realize what goes into an event, and that event could be anything, a wedding, a birthday party. My background is in food and beverage, and I own a food truck and catering business, and people just take for granted all the time when I'm talking to them on the phone. They're like, oh, well, we want to have this catered, but, we've thought about just doing it ourselves. And I'm like, look, hey, do whatever you want. That is your decision. But the time and the effort, the checklist, to make sure you don't show up the day of without the medallions, without this and this. Can you let's talk about that for a second, and how many years it's taken for you guys to almost perfect the Adepticon 40k experience?
Yeah, so this was Adepticon 14. I don't know about perfect, but I think we've got a pretty tight ship. I think one of the things that's amazing about this group is there's a group that organizes prize support. There's a group that organizes the terrain. There's a group that organizes the hotel. There's a group that organizes all the vendors and makes sure they're in the right spot. And every one of those coordinators is completely on top of their game. I mean, top of the field doing this stuff, so that, because we trust each other, that allows us to focus on our event. I don't have to worry about, is my prize support going to show up? I know it's going to be there. I trust it's going to be there. I don't have to worry about, is my terrain going to show up? I know it's going to be there. I can trust it's going to be there. And I just focus on, running 40K. How we got there, hard lessons learned. I mean, we got there from listening to people. We got there from learning from our mistakes. We got there from listening to feedback, and really trying to just build the best event we can, knowing that we're not going to fix it all, but we try to fix 2 or 3 major things every single year or make them better. And over the course of 14 years, you get to a point where
you guys have done it. If I could say this, like me and Haspel, we've been driving to your tournament via Colorado, man. I want to say since like 2007.
At least like
maybe
2006 maybe.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, you're a humble man, Chris, and you're talking about, I don't know if it's perfected. I'll tell you, as people who've been playing in the event for a decade, it's always felt, we've never felt your stress. We've always felt like just the show's been perfect, but then it just keeps getting bigger, and then it just, more of everything. And so I mean, you guys have done a solid job of providing an experience. We've been preaching to our to the viewers that this is the one event. If you've never done an event, you got to do this event. And now you've just explained why we feel that way. Thank you for giving that insight.
We absolutely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and Kenny, if you don't mind, I got a couple more I'd like to get Chris's input on. Chris, we have a lot of store owners, smaller local game area TOs, and people that want to get hobby 40K in their area. Can you give some insight on what it takes to run an event? Obviously not to the grand scale, but maybe numb it down and give us a few pointers for everybody else out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot goes into it. I think one of the biggest things, you got to remember, it's customer service like anything else, right? I mean, all the tournament attendees are our customers, and they pay a lot of money to be there. And even if they're customers in your store, right, you're protecting that relationship. So everything you have to do has to be done with that relationship in mind. One of my biggest stress points with my judges, with my staff, with my TOs is respect their time, right? Run these events on time, and that means you've got to have your details in a row before you get there, right? I mean, your packet's got to be done before you get there. You've got to have a printed schedule, and you got to hold yourself accountable to that schedule. And then after that, if you listen to what your players want, and you give them a good experience, they'll keep coming back. And if you listen to feedback, you'll grow from there. But I think it's that perception of organization, and really the easiest way that's perceived is to run your events on time.
Yeah, that's what a great point. Time management. Last thing about that, would you say, you want to have your finger on the pulse and kind of listen to people and get their inputs? Is there times where you're just like, or has it happened already where you're like, I know people want this, but I got to pull the trigger. We as Adepticon, or we as a small event, or my fill-in-the-blank local TO area says, you know what, we really want to go this direction. Has that happened to you yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that you got to realize when you get to Adepticon scale is I'm not planning a tournament. I'm planning a weekend, and if you think about the entire gamut that 40K players play this game for, there's guys that are, movie in my head. I want to see my little models do the things I think they should do. On the other end of the spectrum are, what I kind of call the chess player 40K players, who are looking for that perfectly, meticulously played experience, and everything in between. And when I'm laying out the event schedule with the judges and with Hank and Matt and those guys, we're looking to plan the event experience. So when you get that inevitable question, hey, I don't want to play, I think one we had was, why aren't you allowing Forge World Army lists? And we just kind of talked to it, said, we don't think they necessarily belong in these, but Kenny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you guys allowed it in a Long War event, right?
Yes, and
yeah.
so yes, we did. But I just want to also tell the audience, that was at Adepticon. So when you're talking about the 40k experience at Adepticon, there was an opportunity to play Forge World, to play completely unrestricted army lists, and that was brought to you by Adepticon, and with a partnership with us, obviously. But that's what Chris does. He reaches out, gets it right, you know.
So it gives me that redirect, right? Hey, I want to play. I want to play an event where I'm not necessarily going to play a hyper competitive list. Hey, have you checked out the friendly? Right, or you know what, 4 games is a long time to be standing on my feet. I don't think I can do that anymore. Well, have you checked out Combat Patrol? That's a half-day event, and you can still squeak in a hobby seminar or go check out whatever you want to check out. So when we're looking at it, we're trying to cast as wide a net as possible. I think the only thing where I draw the line is if your style of 40K entices or encourages negative behaviors, then I'm going to pull it back a little bit, right? I'm not going to slam the door on you, but I'm going to pull it back a little bit and be like, hey, look, we're not looking to get quite to that point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I really would like to know what you guys go. Actually, just talk us through. I got a question. Let's say it's about an army archetype or a special rule or something like that referring to your FAQ. We know actually throughout the year we'll say, hey, at a local event, what FAQ are we running? Are we running Adepticon or running ITC or what are we doing? So for the listeners, talk us through just a little bit of your process of what you do and you and your staff do once you find something needs to be FAQ'd all the way down until it basically hits the paper of what you guys are going to be running.
Sure. So I think it's funny you say, whether we're going to use ITC or Adepticon, because up until, give or take, earlier this year, it was the same thing. General principle, we produce an FAQ that says, hey, if you come to Adepticon, this is how you can expect it's gonna be run, right? If you're an independent TO and you like 90% of what we wrote, take it, use it, change what you don't want, and I think with the ITC side of things, the update schedule that Reese needs for the number of events he has, it was a little too rigorous for what we were able to commit to, and it was like, hey, it's here, take it, change what you want, do your own thing with it. As far as the process we use, we actually look to our attendees to direct us on what needs to be FAQ'd. So we put out a Google link on the Adepticon site that said, fill out this form, tell us what your question is. I saw over 175 questions come through. So we had weekly calls to address those. We also had people just emailing info@adepticon.org. And then other folks were reaching out to just me personally. They know who I am. They hit me up on Facebook. They send me questions or whatever the case may be. And I was just rolling all those into the FAQ. They didn't all make the FAQ because the document would become, kind of unmanageable at that point. There were, some of the more eclectic questions or questions that I felt could be, or there's a group of 5 of us together. It's a little over 50 years of 40K experience amongst us. If we felt that we needed to give an answer, but it wasn't necessarily an answer that was going to come up, I would just write a personal email back to that individual, say, hey, this is what we're going to rule on. Great, here it is. If we felt it was a little bit more common answer, then we would add it to the FAQ. So that's kind of the process we went through. As far as like the methodology we use to make the rulings, we're not trying to quote unquote fix the game, right? If the words are on paper and it makes sense that you can use the words on paper, then we just let it as it is on paper, as close to the rule book as possible. Understanding that most of the time the FAQ, there's 2 completely valid opinions on how the words on paper can be written. And that's where we come in, and there's 2 things we look for. Do we have a precedent before this that says, hey, we've ruled on something like this to keep the game as consistent as possible. We're going to match the previous ruling we had. If we don't have that, we try to reach into, okay, what do we think they were trying to do? How does the other part of the game work? Does this make sense? And we try to get to that rules as intended. And barring that, we use that magical phrase for the ease of tournament play, which means we're pretty much making it up because we have nothing to go on.
I'm going to tell you, my brother, that's my favorite thing about y'all's FAQ is I'm sad that some of the other big FAQs don't have that, like, this is something we changed line in there. Yep. And this is, like, I just love that. Like, we changed this for the ease of gameplay. Like, I love that. Like, that's itemized in your guys' document. And Juice, if I can ask him, like, the last question here before we move into our next interview for the night, I wanted to ask, after 14 years, is Adepticon still actually growing?
Yeah, we are. I mean, I don't have the final numbers for you. I know at a high level, our pre-registration sales were up about 10%. 40k as a flagship event, the direction I got was hold the line, and we saw, again, if you look at it like as I do across the entire spectrum of registrations, between the growth and the friendly, the addition of your Long War event, which did a great job, by the way, and I heard some great things about it, and then the championships, the team tournament, 40k actually was up, a little bit. It was a little bit less than 10%, but there was some growth there. Where the explosion is Horus Heresy. I mean, it took us by surprise, to be honest, because we're like, oh, Horus Heresy, we'll give them, like a dozen slots, and they sold out in like 10 seconds, and we were like getting flamed. So, I mean, we saw some of those events go up to 40, 50 players. I think all in all, over the entire weekend, they had over 150 participants in the events that they ran for the weekend, which is huge growth when you think about it, considering that they were less than 50 people last year. So if you put that all under the Games Workshop sort of mentality that, hey, yeah, they own Horus Heresy too, like all the Games Workshop stuff was up, with an offset obviously for fantasy, but that's where we saw really Fantasy Flight really step up, and they ran that phenomenal X-Wing event. I mean, they gave some dude a trip to Europe to go to like the greatest Star Wars convention ever hosted by George Lucas. So that was like a huge shot in the arm, and X-Wing just exploded off of that. So if you take all those things into context, and everybody else did a great job holding the line or growing, hobby seminars, and the vendors grew, and I mean, we had to add the whole extra third of the space in that gigantic convention hall to accommodate it all. So yeah, 14 years, we're still growing.
And I don't know if you saw this, so I'm just gonna kind of ask the question. Over the past years, compared to on the 40k side, compared in the team tournament and also the championships, do you feel that the hobby has come back some? Like as far as I feel like there was a lull in team displays, a lull in actually just display boards and craftsmanship and things like that. What did you see this year as far as that goes?
I mean, I saw a lot of the great stuff we usually see. I think there's a little bit of a gap forming, and I'm going to get together with some of the guys that really have kind of keyed into what the essence of the team tournament is, and see if we can get some YouTube videos. It was one of their ideas, actually. Brian Carlson and crew, Adeptus Film Company. I don't know if you've seen their stuff, but they come just absolutely to the gills every year. The whole 11 yards, so to speak, and see, it was their idea to maybe do some videos or some instructional stuff about some of the stuff we're looking for, because I think there's a group that gets it, and there's a group that's new and has come and has seen the great things but not quite sure how to get there. So I think there's some things we can do to guide people along to kind of up their game a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is something we kind of notice even with the team event is with our long war event, some people knew that it was a bringing the hobby back. They knew what that aspect meant. They brought a bringing the hobby back kind of army. And then there's other people that didn't. They kind of didn't have, maybe they don't listen to it as much or listen to us talk about it, going in details, and they just saw it, signed up for it because they saw it as another team event, and they that concept was a little lost on them. So I can completely understand where you're coming from. The more information to get out to the people, the better.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Chris.
I was going to say, the printed word is great. I've lived by it for a long time now, but I think we're living in a world where, you guys are up in the game here and doing all that great stuff, and I think it's just time to get out and get a little bit more visible presence in social media and YouTube and those types of things to just put it in more places for people to see it.
Yep, that's a very good suggestion. Hopefully, maybe we can help with that here in the near future. So, well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on here, Chris. It's good to hear from you. Obviously, awesome working with you again and seeing you again. Hopefully, we can get together next year on some stuff.
Love it. Glad to chat with you. Look forward to seeing you guys next year.
Thanks, Chris.
Right, man.
Like, these guys put on a good show, don't they?
It's unbelievable what they do, man. Like, we have, in the grand scheme of Adepticon, we have our foot in the door, the tasting, testing the waters. We've done events. We've done more events than others, but they're smaller, 40, 50. I can't even compare to the 100 people that we did to even, and that was hectic. You know, there was 4 of us, and we needed every one of our bodies to make that happen, plus other people. You know, to put on and host what Adepticon does in 4 or 5 days, it's a different level.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. I feel like, you know, I run pretty much a monthly tournament here in Fayetteville. You know, maybe 30 people max, and even then, that's a lot of cat herding. You know, I couldn't even imagine what these guys do. So, you know, kudos on them. He's just like, yo, I got this. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, he's like, yeah, he's so humble. He's so humble about it. But it's like it took every bit of all 4 of our abilities to manage 100 people, manage the score intakes, the rules, the table assignments. Like it took every bit of all 4 of us to manage 100 people. I mean, it's got to be a big shout out to the volunteers, the thousands of hours of work that goes into Adepticon before we even get there. And on our end, we don't even see the problems, and these guys nail it every year.
Yeah, every year. I haven't had. I've had maybe an experience, you know, a bad experience with some food at Adepticon or something, this and this. But I will say, when it comes to an actual event that I'm in, they can't control me playing Taldar for 5 games in a row. You know, they can't control the stuff that they have control of. I actually was quoted as saying it's a perfect event. I don't see any otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see that. You know, and I actually had one of my French chefs growing up, you know, taught me whenever I worked in his open kitchen. It was the first time that I understood this. It was like, look, being in a kitchen in the back is completely different. It can be hectic. You can be running around screaming. You can cut yourself. As long as the guests don't see that, that's what's a good event. You know, and then versus being in an open kitchen where, you know, people are watching you the entire time. You know, and that's where a lot of stuff is. They don't have a room that they go back to.
Yeah, they don't have a secret HQ. Yeah, you can see these guys.
Yeah.
You know?
And you can see if as my chef taught me, is, you know, people read your body motion. If you're running around and sweating and looking like you're frantic and stuff, they already have a bad taste in their mouth before they get their food. Let me tell you what, you meet Chris, you meet the guys there, they are, you know, Mateus, these guys, they are as smooth and as calm, as collected as I can imagine.
Phew. I mean, yeah. I mean, and Rob said it. I mean, Rob said it best. Running 30 people at a local gaming store is like about all he can manage, and he's not doing it without sweating. We're not doing our 100 people event without sweating. These guys did. So hats off to them for sure.
And speaking about tournaments and stuff, and I know we just had a great interview, but I would like to take time to talk about congratulations to all the Long War veterans and the people that showed up for our doubles event. You definitely made that event special for all of us. We had an absolute fucking blast. I couldn't imagine having a better group of individuals. You know, you guys brought the hobby back.
And definitely shout out to the winners of the inaugural event, the boys, OG, bringing hobby back specialists themselves. They've been running a comp tournament up in New York for years. But that's like Rob Bear's hometown backyard area. These guys crushed it out with amazing armies, amazing paint jobs, amazing scores, and they even did it again in a 4-man team tournament with Best Imperial Army.
Mm-hmm.
And as Juice commented on earlier before, they didn't even play. There was no crossover between their two-man teams in our event and their 4-man team in the 4-man event.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And their armies were the gangsters-looking orc army I've ever seen for our event. The boys' A team. You know, the boys themselves had the gangsterous Skitarii, Admech, Space or White Scars army.
Yeah.
You know, and then to see them play the Imperial side of it for the 4-man team, it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't even know how much. I couldn't even imagine. They have to have a dedicated vehicle, you know, to bring all this stuff in.
They had to drive a Greyhound bus out here. There's no, I mean, literally, that's the only
explanation.
They have a strike cruiser, like a full-scale 28mm strike cruiser.
And they drop all this stuff in parachutes and everything. Yo, and I mean that's a true story. But I did want to mention to the viewers and the listeners, we did do all of the interviews we said we would do, And you can see these here. I'm talking by this weekend. We're going to start dropping for 15 weeks an interview, a different interview a week, and then we'll obviously trickle them down to the YouTubes. But if you're a veteran Long War, you get to see everything for free. So obviously, keep refreshing your page. Track the newsletter that you should be getting to your email, because we did some amazing interviews courtesy of our talk show host-like personality that is Juice, and some amazing attendees doing all manner of different amazing things. I think we got some good, solid interviews. Also, shout out to Felix, our on-the-floor cameraman, who held it down big time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It was those interviews were a blast to do. We covered all of it, from 40k to Star Wars to new inventive ideas that people have come up with to better different hobbies, to comic book and graphic novel artists. It was a blast to do, and I'm glad that we could all be a part of it.
Yeah, and
shout out. I'm sorry, I apologize to interrupt, Rob, but shout out to Sal as well for coming in and really being an extra body around, while we're doing those interviews especially. So, people don't realize we can't do what we do without the fans that we have, the followers of the show, the listeners, the handshakes and hugs. Can't say it enough. Yeah,
we should definitely jump into the Aaron Erlong interview here real quick. But I do want to mention one last time, Harrys.com, the most official razor. I'm going to, dare I say, the official razor of Kenny Boucher's Sideburns.
Yo, the official, yes, and hashtag the official razor, keeping all the Long War associates looking super fresh.
Looking icy. It's the iciest of all razors. That's the Truman kit we're talking about. The Truman box. It's like literally it's $15 on their website, but with this promo code, remember, it's $10 for free shipping. So it's an incredible savings. Get the kit. Use the Long War as your promotion code. Harrys.com. Get your Sideburns icy and send us pictures to the Facebook page. Iciest Sideburns are going to win a sticker.
Ooh, I like that. Harrys.com. Get your kit. Get iced. The Harrys.com way.
And obviously, let's hear from Aaron Erlong here. Let's do a sick interview with a true competitor.
Our next guest is the 2016 Adepticon 40k singles champion, Aaron Erlong. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Aaron, appreciate you spending some time hanging out with us and talking about Adepticon and even potentially how badass of a 40k player you are.
Thank you.
Aaron, I wanted to start the interview off real quick just by asking you one simple question. How much fun did you have at Adepticon?
Actually, I didn't have very much fun, to be honest with you.
It was garbage?
No, okay. Well, first of all, it was a great event. It was a great event. Really enjoyed the competition. Probably the best. As far as an event goes. Really had a great time seeing friends. The venue was awesome. Obviously had a good time with how the event went. Obviously there's just a few things that kind of spoiled that, but played against some sick Army lists in both the champs and also in the team tournament. So as far as that aspect goes, I did have a good time.
Obviously, I'm no stranger to possible scandals spoiling my whole weekend. So obviously, all the fun that you had up until the moment that I'm sure everyone now knows about kind of got spoiled by that. And so that's kind of like what we want to talk to you about. Obviously, Adepticon was amazing. You got to see your friends. You got to have all those great games. Why don't you tell us from the, facts from the ground, like what was this issue over, and what was it all about?
Right. Well, first of all, I want to start off by saying I sincerely apologize to anybody who has had a negative experience or who feels that my intentions weren't to the utmost of integrity. So I do a lot of list theory, a lot of list building. I mean, I get people all over the country that we talk about things, and me and my buddy were kind of looking at lists, and I've been running a Thunder Star, or as you call Super Friends, or something like that for about a year and a half, 2 years now, and based upon what Adepticon says, hey, you know what, this is what you can take. Me and my buddy started building lists, and one day he said, hey, why can't what do you think about taking lone wolves, for the elite tax, since Iron Priest are now HQs? I said, well, it doesn't really work like that. He's like, and he said, and this is a pretty good player. He's one of the top players, and he said, well, I think I kind of read a little differently. And so I said, well, I don't, but he said, well, I'm going to contact Adepticon. So he contacted Adepticon and got back to me and said, hey, they ruled that the lone wolves could be used similar to a court of the Archon type of ruling. And I, at first I was like, nah, are you sure? And he said, yeah. So I sent them, that same email. Hey, I just want to double check. This is what I've heard. And they said, yeah, that's what we ruled it. So.
And Aaron, I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize. Can you just go into, for the listeners and stuff like that, for people who are a little ignorant to the fact of what the Court of the Archon rule is?
Basically, what the Lone Wolf, Court of the Archon rule states is, because GW is so great at making rules, right? It states in there that, you can take these models, but it also states in there that if you take, an example for the Lone Wolf, it says if you take, a Grey Hunter and a Wolf Guard, you can get these guys that don't fill up a Force Organization slot. So, basically, the reason that invalidates Lone Wolves for a lot of players is because now that it also says if you take Iron Priest, then Lone Wolves don't count. So it's really an ambiguous type of wording.
But Lone Wolf is considered an elite choice. It's in the elite section of the Codex, right?
Right. Correct. And so Champions of Fenris, the tax for that is you can take 4 HQs, but you have to take 2 elites instead of 2 troop choices. So, so the tax of taking a 20-point Lone Wolf versus having to take a 70-point Scout unit, you save yourself 50 points there. And so, I originally didn't believe that they ruled it that way, but once they did, I'm going to take the best list I can, when I'm going up against double Wraith Knights with scatter lasers and, 2,500 point Gladius list and
true story,
and stuff like that. So.
And that's an interesting point, because you can't even take the Servitor anymore. You'd have to take like Wolfguard into the Codex, right? If you played it that there was no other available elites, and I also, from my understanding, the Court of the Archon has almost exactly the same wording as this, and they've already ruled that as a precedent that it's legal.
Correct, and every major tournament, well, I'll say the big 3, have basically ruled it the same way. So, even though I understand people, saying that it wasn't, I understand that, my friend reached out to him about a month beforehand, and they actually took it up in front of the Rules Council, and it wasn't one person that decided; it was everybody that decided. And unfortunately, I think they didn't have time to put in the FAQ. But I can't worry about that. I obviously have to go with what they rule. And one of the things that I do is when I go to an event, I'm going to build my list around that event. And that's one of the reasons why I've been fairly successful. And you have to take what it is that you think can do the best against.
If you're going to a massively competitive event with these types of rules and these types of missions, you obviously have to tailor your list around it, and you have to go in equipped for victory. And I do agree with that point. But I do hear that there was some other stuff in your list that people are upset with now.
Right, and this is the part that I'm obviously very heartfelt, and this is probably the reason why my Adepticon experience wasn't as good as I was hoping. I use primarily Army Builder to use my list. Sometimes I use Battle Scribe, but Army Builder is the primary way that I use it. Now I pay for the yearly subscription. And when there's things wrong, I actually send emails to Army Builder. Hey, this is a mistake, and things like that for them to upgrade it. But when I built the list originally, I had only a 4-source list. And as I started looking at the missions, I realized how important OBSEC was going to be. So I decided to, take a unit of bikes, and then so I can either double star up if I need to, or if I can have an objective secured star if I need to. But to do that, I need a Sanguinary Priest. And so never really played, Blood Angels. I mean, I have the electronic codex, and so as I was going through it, I built the Sanguinary Priest on bike. Decided I needed, some more close combat, so I added a Lightning Claw and a Power Fist. Unfortunately, Army Builder did not require me to, add anything. Now, I will say the Sanguinary Priest is the only non-Terminator Space Marine model in the entire 40k that doesn't come with a bolt pistol. He has a cup or a chalice instead. Again, that's totally my fault. I take responsibility for that. Because you have to swap out a close combat weapon or a bolt pistol for a special melee weapon. And so, when I built the list, it came out to 1,848 points, 2 points shy of the 1,850. When in actuality it was false, it was 1,849. As I play tested for a couple of weeks, I said, well, hey, I have these 2 scout models here. I'll just fill it out. Make the list 1850, and that's where it was my error. It should.
So you put sniper rifles on those 2 scouts.
Yeah, I had 2 units of 5 bolter scouts, and I put 1 sniper rifle in 1 unit and 1 sniper rifle in another unit.
So functionally, your list was 1 point over, because of this bolt pistol on a guy that is never going to shoot his bolt pistol because he has a twin link bolter on his bike.
Correct.
So, it's one of those things. Like I'd like to touch on it. You want to know what? For the love of God, this obviously, when you hear the story, and this is what it is. Like, there's no malicious intent. There was no you didn't. There isn't rumors of somebody saying, "Oh, well, you told me, and you blew up this dreadnought and this whatever with a ghost melt-a-bomb." There's this and this. I mean, it is literally you were utilizing every point possible by just having a sniper rifle here or this. Instead of wasting a point, let's just go ahead and put it. I don't see an issue with it.
Hey, Juice, let me ask you a question. Juice, how many times in the history of your 40k career, when you're playing in this current meta, at least, have you taken your 5 scouts with its 1 sniper rifle and positioned into a dominant position to shoot that sniper rifle all game? Or did you outflank them and hide them behind a rock?
Absolutely. To be honest, I can't even fathom if we were talking a melt-a-bomb, we're talking something useful. Now granted, it is a shot, and somebody could make a list. Somebody can type up an article or say something, be a internet bully, and talk about, or tough guy, and talk about how the pros of having this 1 sniper rifle, the pros of what this could do and what it could manufacture, and under this circumstance, this chain of events could happen. It's like, man, come on, guys,
those scouts are hiding behind rocks. Okay.
The entire time, again, you wanted, so it's tough to say let's play loose and fast, and as Aaron has already done, he apologized. He shouted out all the people that are out there. It's like, look, if you think of me any lesser of a person, I'll say it. First off, get good at 40k. Quit your bitching. Shit does happen.
I do want to say that too. Adepticon enforced their penalty. We got the facts on the ground. We talked to Chris, and they took out a unit of scouts during a kill point game, a progressive kill point game, when they figured out the infraction, giving your opponent immediately 2 points. And then for the 2 championship games, the final 2, the 7 and 8, they removed your Sanguinary Priest, forcing you to play without you feel no pain on your Death Star and over 120 points under cost.
Deficit. Aaron, I'd like to go back and try to reminisce something and just kind of explain. I touched on this to show the character and obviously the phenomenal general you must be to be able to endure. I think I even used the testicular fortitude you showed to on turn 7 and 8 against the 2 best players in the room that day at that time with the best list that there could be. You literally, like, what was going through your mind? Not only you had to play a game against 2 phenomenal opponents, you were trying to win these games. You were having to, handicapped 120 plus points. So that's a kick in the balls. But you took your licks. You're like, hey, I made a mistake. This is how you say that you rectify it. So you did it. How.
Additionally, knowing that like 50 people around you were mad at you now too, like having to go into those games, all of those things, and still pull out W's. Like, how'd you do it?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that after the first day, and basically when it happened, and you could tell exactly what you said. I mean, even some of my friends who I didn't have time to really, to explain. There was a cold chill in the room. Even some of my close friends weren't coming around, and I'm not going to get emotional, but I mean, it was really tough because everybody's giving me dirty looks in the room, and I just had to go and see what I can do. I was, obviously I played against an Eldar list, which we now know is illegal, but it was a list that was very difficult. And basically on that mission to where I had to be in multiple areas of the board, I couldn't do the same thing that I could do in other games because I did have a Sanguinary Priest. And so I had to alter my strategy. Bruno actually made a good play. I put 4 objective secured units behind a little ruin, and he had Descythe Wraithguard. The only way for him to kill him was to make a drop, and if he scattered 1 inch, it would be a mishap. And that's the only thing he could have done to make the game. And he made the drop, and he killed every single unit. And that basically turned the game into pulling crap out of my butt, and not having the Sanguinary Priest was huge.
That's again, that's to be on that high level of stage in 40k, to have people standing around the tables. We were actually running our team event at the same time, and I am a competitive 40k player. I love it. I love those competitive juices. I love the tenseness. I love all that. So I was still trying to, on top of run, kind of be the voice on the floor at our event and kind of orchestrate some things from the floor wise. I was still trying to run over, kind of check things out, check on people, see how people were doing, and I had no idea at this point in time because I actually didn't play in the singles. We had so many other things going on. So at this point in time, I have no idea that this is happening. I wish I would have known because, it would just played for that much more. I trying to put myself in your shoes, and Bruno is a good friend of mine. His shoes and this. I love the competitive side and what you were able to do, in my opinion, of having all the stress from day one, having all these negatives surrounding you, and still being able to pull through. That shows to your 40k generalmanship and character in itself.
And then going against a war convocation right after Bruno, one of the toughest people in the room.
Yeah.
Bruno is legit. First off, like, Bruno is one of the most competitive people I know, and you got through that with your gangster, just pure gangsterness. And then you had to go against a war convocation, which is legally like 2,300 points.
Right.
Yeah, legally should be illegal. Almost like you're talking. You bring in an extra 500-600 points. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So again, you're down an additional, the 500 points plus 125 point pre. So you were really playing 1725 versus 2,400.
Yeah, it was. I was at 1730 against about 2,400 points, and same thing. I mean, one of the ways I built the list was so I can have an objective secured star with Feel No Pain, and I wasn't able to do that because I didn't have the Sanguinary Priest to go in there. So
now, Aaron, real quick, to talk about your list, just to put it in perspective, did you have Psychers?
Yes, I had I took my White Scars Librarian Conclave, so I was still able to get invisibility.
Gotcha.
But if believe it or not, with my assault list, I did not engage the War Convocation at all.
Wow.
I basically out chess matched him and won.
I mean, high level 40k is always not just run at your opponent and smash them in the face or blow them off the table. This is a chess match, and your army with the star being on bikes and psychics. Even though you're down on points, you can still play the mission instead of play your opponent.
Right, absolutely, and a lot of people don't realize that. War Convocation is actually one of the lists that can destroy a Wolf Star in one turn.
Yes.
Even an invisible one. So,
yeah, because any sixes matter, and it matters times 10 with War Convocation.
Yeah, and then the reverse hammer of wrath thing, too, is always a problem.
I'm sorry, say again, Rob?
The reverse hammer of wrath thing, when you actually close with them, the Electromancer, Electro Discipline of the Electromartyr, or whatever it's called, like basically they get a hammer of wrath when you assault them.
Right.
And that gets around invisibility. So it's it can definitely pick up a Death Star.
Right. Actually, my first playtest game against after I lost round 6 in LVO or 7 in LVO, I played against one of my friends, and he basically destroyed my entire star in one turn. And so I quickly learned, what they do, and so I knew.
Got to have Feel No Pain.
And really, the Sanguinary Priest, because he had a fist and a lightning claw, because I needed 3 more power fist attacks in the unit since I dropped an Iron Priest.
Okay.
So that's why I brought him the way it is. But it was it was bittersweet because I haven't celebrated with anybody because I didn't I felt kind of down on it. But one of the things that I've done, and I know we didn't talk about this before, but I've elected, I basically would auto qualify for ETC for Adepticon. And I'm on Team America now, and I've chosen for the community and for the Team America not to accept any points for 2017's ETC team. I also donated multiple prizes to the Youngbloods, group when they came up, just as a show of my remorse for making the 1-point error. In building the list, 3 bikes are 63 points. There's absolutely nothing you can buy with 2 points that makes a difference. And in fact, I never fired the sniper rifles. I know that's not an excuse, but that's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. As Kenny touched on, it immediately was like, how many times does this actually? I mean, to be honest, I would have, because I don't have an issue with it, I would have an issue, again, if it was a melt-a-bomb, if it was something more substantial that could be game-changing, this and this. But now I will play devil's advocate a little bit. It's like, hey, look, if you're a point over, then what's the difference of 2 points, 3 points? But obviously, the steps that you're taking, coming on here, being open, talking with people, taking a couple days to rationalize everything in your brain, obviously there was no malicious, negative intent behind your action. I mean, ultimately, in my opinion, I would like to be, if nobody else has done it, be one of the first, I know, along with everybody on the show, to congratulate you on your continued win streak in the 40k community, and congratulations on winning Adepticon 2016.
Thank you.
What a great individual.
He's a G. You could obviously hear the truth maybe coming out in his voice. Like, you could tell that he was bothered.
He didn't hold back, man. He led that interview with I didn't have a good time at Adepticon.
Yeah.
Well, that's understandable.
No, definitely. No, I'm saying like that. It is like that's truthful. It's really easy to be like, oh, it's the greatest. It's the greatest. And like, he truth bomb. Like that hurts your feelings. And he said that like that made like the whole 5 days of just pure joy he was experiencing. That made it not exist. And that's what happened to me with my experiences in the past when I had a similar thing happen to me. Literally, just the greatest weekend of the year was just like it didn't happen. It might as well didn't happen because like my feelings are so hurt by it, and by what was being said about me, by the concept of thinking that maybe I did hurt someone's feelings during the game during my games. Maybe I took advantage of people inadvertently. That all just came together and ruined my event. So I definitely was blown back by that statement that he led with. Like it hurt me.
Yeah, you could honestly tell he was compassionate with what he was saying. Some things were tougher to swallow, this and this. We actually got a little insight into who Aaron is, how much time he, spends on the phone talking about lists, trying to come up with the newest thing, trying to come up, and the stars, the Super Friends aspect he's been doing it as well as anybody could. So to hear the different levels and stages that he went through to create this list, also the experience while he's there, and kind of what he's doing to potentially kind of rectify and go against it. I know that we're gonna have some trolls. You know yourself, you're out there. I'm talking to you. You trolls, you're gonna comment and say how terrible he is. I can't believe you had him on the show. It's like, come on, guys. It is what it is. Let's move on, and I'm excited. Let me tell you what it doesn't do. Doesn't bother me not one bit going into next year.
Nope.
I never in the history of ever did it ever cross my mind to think, oh, well, I'm not going to Adepticon because they didn't kick somebody out. Or come on, like.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Chris put out a press statement. He took full responsibility, and he said that, first off, like they're the event coordinators. They get to decide how people are penalized. They use their own protocol. They decide how to penalize them. Just because it's your opinion that they should have thrown them out of the tournament, that doesn't mean shit. Like, it's not your tournament, son.
Well, yeah, well, A, it's not your tournament. B, you're not going to ever have the whole story. We don't even know the whole story. But I know there's more than what was ever talked about. And this is never going to get talked about, like, publicly. So, like, it's not football. Like, we don't have it on record. Like, we don't have instant replay and see, oh, the split was clearly out. The Seahawks would have won or whatever. Like, it ain't even like that. So, like, calm down. It's toy soldiers, and let's all move on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say, I'll give Aaron credit. He did do his best, from what we can tell, to cover his side of the story and let us know. Again, it's so. Ken, if you don't mind, I'd like to use your experience of it's. If on the outside looking in, if all you read is a headline, it could look tough. If you don't. But the second you read into the story, and see of what the actual events that played out, so you can say, hey, Aaron had an illegal list with over points. That seems kind of bad, right? But ultimately, he had the TO's permission with corresponding back and forth via email, and for the illegal list aspect, and then for the over point cost, literally because of a slip up in a army builder aspect which freed up a point or two to add a single sniper rifle on a model. Like, if I ever in the history of ever have somebody in a local event bring up about how they're mad that happened, like, you might not want to hear what I have to say. Like, go ahead. I won't tell you not to tell me that. But that's your opinion.
I would love to hear, like, the war convocation player give
yeah.
a shit for it.
Yeah. Let me tell you how many shits I give that my man was over 1 point, so he bought a sniper rifle.
What's first off, a bolt pistol that you're never going to shoot because the bike comes with twin link bolters.
Yes, and I got to pay a point for that. That just shows how terrible the Blood Angels book is.
Yes, so like that's so it's insane. People obviously move on. 40k. It was literally the greatest week of 2016, and it's going to be almost impossible to top.
Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable. You're right, Kenny. Everything from the weekend the food, the chilling, seeing Steve Turner, the Canadians. Love hanging out with them. Our event. I mean, I just can't. I couldn't imagine a better one. Now, Haspel did look out on the other side and was like, man, you guys worked. It wasn't just like all fun hugs and handies. We worked for those.
Yeah, I worked to get those handies or give those handies.
We were running around doing this, orchestrating. You were, Kenny, you're trying to beat people down to get interviews lined up. We're recording them. We're having to wait, go to sleep.
I almost got into a fist fight with 47 individuals standing in the pre-registration line for the 4-man team event while we were trying to intake the final scores of our 2-man team event.
Yeah.
I was prepared to have a battle royale with 40 people.
Yeah, I was about to. I feel like your knuckles could hold up 1-for-1 with the first 19 guys.
Yep.
After that, you're gonna have to call me in, dog.
Yeah, I'm gonna tag you in, and we're gonna have to go with the Mecha Shield formation,
That's
the Mecha
it.
Juice formation that only a few people know about our unbeatable combo. Hopefully, you never have to see it firsthand.
That's right, because if you do, it is literally unbeatable.
I do want to mention the legendary item inventory pouch of Infinite Holding, aka the Longwood Dice Bag. There has been a lot of people asking to get their hands on one, and I did want to address it on this platform that we will be giving people an opportunity to buy those at some point in the near future, and we will keep you updated.
Absolutely. We took just a few that were left. Adepticon almost instantaneously sold out. I mean, people see, and once they were there and stuff and they saw the quality, it's an amazing bag. It's unbelievable. So I would also like to lastly give a shout out to everybody else that couldn't make it, that reached out on the social platforms from Adepticon, wanting to be there and everything else. And I know this was all hot off the heels of it, so we've had to talk about the event. Gladly, aka have. And but I'm ready next week to get here so we can dive into some of the chaos formations and maybe talk about how we are going to use them in lists coming up. Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah. Me and Rob are already in our Beats lab. Talking shit about him on the air doesn't stop me from making new lists.
No, I mean there's useful stuff.
Talking shit repeatedly about Lucius the Eternal does not mean he's not going to get played at Adepticon.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what, that Crimson Slaughterbug ain't gonna make Ulysses the Eternal any better.
Okay. So next year we play the Red Corsairs.
Yeah, something.
Here on Blockhart is about 50 times better than Lucius the Eternal.
Oh my god.
True story in all aspects.
Yeah, so many.
All I'm saying is next year, if we're not going with it, I call it Abaddon, right? Meow. I'm calling 5s on him. I'm calling front seat. I'm calling whatever I got to do.
All right, well, that's it for this one. Make sure you head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content and early access videos. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos,